A very good afternoon to you, and welcome to the Fixed Wing Guy channel with me, Stuart Lomas. I hope I find you well on this very miserable Tuesday afternoon here in Manchester. Bit of a late one today. Usually do my videos mid-morning, but this afternoon or today's been really busy. Been out buying a car for my partner, so she's getting a brand new car at some point fairly soon, and unfortunately they required the second half of my driving license. Here in the UK we have a credit card sized piece of the driving license plus a paper side which repeats all the information plus any endorsements or traffic penalties that you've had. And I can't find mine. I have no idea where it is, which is very unlike me. I'm quite anal where that is concerned, but hey, I'm sure it will turn up. So busy day today, one thing and another, going to the bank and going to the council and all that kind of thing, but back home now. So I thought I'd just whiz off a quick video. Something that's kind of going under the radar, I think, to a certain extent. But what I'm going to go on about is, obviously people chat about the importance of Swiss watch manufacture, and then possibly running a fairly distant second German watch manufacturer. So what I want to ask is a genuine question to everybody, which is something which is going to affect the world in all aspects of where we live fairly soon and how we live fairly soon. What about the Chinese? Now, we are all aware that out there on eBay and places like that are cheap, very, very cheap, automatic watches, which have Chinese movements in, which are then brought over to continental Europe and are put together in parts of Germany. Obviously, then of course they're known as Jamaican watches. Now, as it seems to be that the quality of the movements tends to be quite good, and I know I've used that word with a little bit of reluctance, but they seem to be quite good because they tend to be Chinese copies of 2892s, 2893 ETA movements, so they seem to be okay. Now, if you look slightly beyond the kind of watch side of things, China's economy is growing massively. Now, I don't know whether many of you are big movie fans. I assume some of you are. A lot of the big movies out there right now are funded by the Chinese. They are moved away from their martial arts type movies, which were only made for the Chinese market, and now are funding big Hollywood blockbusters. They are also, as we're aware, if you are a fan of Top Gear, they did a whole thing about the Chinese car manufacturers, and they do say, that the adenoidal ones of us out, oh yes, in 5 years time we'll all be using and driving Chinese cars. Well, I think that's possibly the case, Now, if that's the case, and that the Chinese of a nation are being the funders of big Hollywood blockbusters, what is to say that within the relatively short to medium term, that they will not be turning out high quality, high priced watches? They already do Chinese automatic movements with, for want of a better phrase, clone movements. So what is to stop somebody, some Chinese entrepreneur out there saying, what we want to do is make a Chinese competitor to Rolex or a Chinese competitor to Omega? Now, I realise it might be some time before perhaps they're, troubling the likes of Patek, but to trouble the likes of the, for want of a better way of putting this, the everyday prestige brands, because we all talk about Rolex regularly and we all talk about Omega regularly, but lower down the scale, the Breitlings, the Tags, the Longines, that kind of thing. How long is it going to be before Chinese manufactured watches are troubling that section of the watch market? It's quite an interesting one, this. I do believe that the growth rate of China and the influence that China has now and will have in the short to medium term is actually being underestimated. I certainly think that the US are not seeing this coming. I think the US are quite happily and possibly naively motoring along, thinking that they're the greatest nation on earth, excuse me, and that they will never be superseded. And I think that's in all aspects of life, but I don't think that they are fully aware of what potentially is happening in the Far East right now. So I think it's going to be a short video, this, because I don't really think I can go any further with what I've said. So let me know what you think about this. I think it's quite an interesting one. I mean, obviously right now we're looking at movements which are bottom of the barrel, bottom of the price range. Some of the watches look okay, but that's all they do, they look okay. But everybody starts from somewhere. At some point in the past, Rolex were the new guy on the block. Omega were the new guy on the block. So, you know, I mean, to give an example, Orient, you know, all right, we can't put Orient in the same breath as Rolex or Omega. I know that. But there are guys out there who own Orient Makos, Andy Hunter, for instance, and others out there who think of them very highly, you know, far more so than just a beta watch. So if Orient are doing that now, and they produce a lovely dress watch called the Bambino, have a look at that. If you've not seen it, have a look at it. If they're doing that now, what will they be doing in 5 years? Interesting one. I think so, and I think that the way that perhaps the US are delightfully unaware of what's happening in China right now, perhaps the Swiss watchmakers are delightfully unaware with what is happening in China right now. They have an unlimited workforce who will work for very little pay, and there is no reason why they can't headhunt certain top designers from big companies, maybe, to go and help push them off from a not even a standing start, because they're jogging quite nicely. Thank you very much. So let me know what you think. I think this is quite an interesting one, and I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that the Chinese watches will overtake the prestige brands in the next 5 years, maybe not even the next 10 years. But after that, you've got to start looking. Let me know what you think. It's quite an interesting one, this. See what timescales you think this might start happening. But let me know your thoughts down below. Any questions, any comments, as always, down below. It's something that's coming to the forefront of my mind that's quite interesting. Not worrying, but interesting. I hope you found this interesting. I hope it sparks off 1 or 2 things in your brain. I shall look forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot for watching. Bye bye.